rather than being swayed by the opinions and judgments of others. Because when people have opinions about you and they judge you, it says more about how they feel about themselves than it actually says about you. So always remember that. And just be open, just be kind, just be forgiving, and just walk your path. Walk your path and talk your talk. And be humble, be kind, be compassionate, and most of all, do not put yourself in the boxing ring because oh my gosh, I've done that more times than I care to remember. But the mistakes, I don't call them mistakes, they're experiences. That's all it is. You're here to experience the experiment of life.
Namaste, beautiful souls. I'm Shilpa, and you're tuned into the Omni Mindfulness podcast, a sanctuary for spiritual entrepreneurs. As a holistic mindfulness coach and social marketing strategist, I'm here to guide you on a transformative journey. On this show, we explore captivating stories and provide practical tools that deepen your connection with your authentic self. Through the personal and professional narratives of remarkable individuals, we expand our consciousness and ignite the spark of possibility. Each season, I curate content that empowers you to create a holistic lifestyle encompassing spirituality, mindfulness, energy awareness, and mindset. Join me as we engage in conversations with experts in their respective fields and share solo casts from yours truly, all aimed at supporting you and relaxing, revitalizing, resetting your body, mind, and spirit. I'm your host and the visionary behind Omni Mindfulness. So what if just one story had the power to shift the trajectory of your life? What if you could become an instrument in helping others realize their true selves? And what if your soul's higher purpose lies in experiencing the joy of Omni Mindfulness? Remember, it's never too late to rewrite your story. Hey there, beautiful souls. Today we embark on a journey of spirituality and soulful elevation with Birgitta Visser, author of Be-coming Authentically Me. Birgitta is a soul empowerment coach, divine channel, and light language healer, bringing forth messages from light beings to guide humanity on its awakening path. Drawing from a wellspring of inner wisdom and tested by her own trials, Birgitta shines as a beacon of light, reminding us of the strength within even in our darkest moments. Her adventurous spirit has led her across the globe, gathering experiences from runways to bar tops. Birgitta follows her intuition, inspiring us to challenge comfort zones and live authentically. Birgitta offers wisdom to unlock our potential and journey back to the truth of who we are. So join me as we explore the path of authenticity and embrace the beauty of our souls. And now, without further ado, let's welcome the remarkable Birgitta Visser. Welcome. I am so excited to have you here. I want to make sure I pronounce your name correctly. Birgitta?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. I got it. All right. Well, an honor to have you here on the topic of elevating your voice. And I have been looking forward to listening to your voice and having a conversation. So without further ado, maybe share a little bit about your journey, your story.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on the show, Shilpa, first of all. So my journey started in 1974 when I popped out of the womb. And on a sunny Tuesday morning on the 25th of June at 10 a.m. Well, as you can imagine, as a baby, I can't really remember much, but as I grew up as a kid, you remember stuff. And the 1980s were so different to what life is like now. I actually miss the 1980s because people communicated so much more from the heart than what it's nowadays, all through electronics. But anyhow, so at the age of probably 9, we moved to Singapore, and then a year later we moved to Malaysia. I loved it. Loved the culture, loved the people. So different. And the food, don't even get me started. Yeah. But I mean, so that part of my childhood was great. And then we stayed with a friend of the family, as my dad had lost his job, and so we had to move out. And I was actually molested by this friend of the family, and my parents didn't know. But what do you expect? I'm 10 years old. It's the 1980s. What do I know? And life is very different now. I think people are more open about it. They know that they can ask for help. But back then it was very different. So I potted it up because I didn't understand. And it was like that, kind of like my childhood changed. And when we returned to Holland when I was 13, nearly 14, my dad passed away. And that was really hard as well. And I think anyway, it doesn't really matter what age you are, Shilpa, losing a parent is always hard. For me, it just happened to be, when I was 14 years old. And I remember waking up the next day and I thought, no, this has to be a dream. It wasn't. And I just, such a banging headache. I just didn't know what to do with my grief. It was just, I couldn't imagine, I just couldn't imagine that he was gone. And he suffered from coronary heart disease. So he'd been in hospital, but then he went out cycling, didn't take his meds, and he just fell off his bike. And that was it. Took like a last breath, and that was it. And so he was nearly 44. But, coming from Malaysia and returning to Holland and going to school, that was a culture shock, total culture shock, because in Malaysia, they wore school uniforms. And here in Holland, they didn't. And, me and my sister wore secondhand clothes. I mean, I didn't care, but I was very, very skinny and I was bullied because of that. I was also very tall, like 5'11". And I had this immense fear of boys. So I needed to go to a classroom and there was a guy or boy in the hallway. Oh, I take another route to get to the classroom. That's insane how scared I was. I look back at it now, but it was just that ingrained fear within me. And I was really good at throwing away my homemade school lunches, which my mom didn't know at the time. And well, I mean, this went on for quite some years, actually. I mean, I would sit home at the dinner table, and I just had my dinner. And back in those days, I mean, I started to work when I was 15, um, on Saturdays and Thursday nights at a department store. And my sister also, well, she worked somewhere else before she went to the department store, and we were still in school and we'd help my mom pay the rent. That's just what we did, we were taught responsibility at an early age. Um, but my mom did eventually was she put me on a modeling course when I was about 16. And I was picked out for a hair show. I always tell this story because I had hair till about my shoulders. And I said, yes, I'll do it. Great. But then he chopped off my hair into a pixie cut, and I felt really ugly. But even the modeling cars didn't help me lift the weight of my shoulders because I carried so much trauma within me. I was really like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's how I walked around because I wanted to be invisible. And I had absolutely zero self-worth. Absolutely none. I really felt ugly. And for many years I did, which, I mean, we're all beautiful. I always say we're all beautiful people. Um, yeah, so even after school, I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna make something of myself. I really am. So I wanted to give the modeling a shot. And I traveled the world, but I could never live of it. And then I was assaulted in the modeling industry in New York by a hairdresser. And even that, I couldn't even talk to anybody. I just carried it with me. I bottled it up. And that's why I will always say, Shilpa, when you have trauma within you and you don't heal that trauma, you create even more trauma because your energy is all messed up. And that's why I rolled into dysfunctional relationships. I mean, when I lost my stepdad in 2000, I was 25 and nearly 25, and my mom was leaning on me. He suffered from cancer, so I used to travel from London to Buckingham, where my mom lived, and help her out every weekend. Um, and when he crossed over, she was leaning on me, which is fine. I You could say I had the wrong friends. I always say I had the wrong friends, but it's not about the wrong friends. It's just who you pick. And they were into drugs and all that stuff. So I did that for like 3 months. I had blackouts. That's actually when I stopped. I stopped because I was still working, and I thought, no, no, this is good, and I thought, no, this has gone too far, and I just quit from one day to the next. And that was in the UK. But like I said, I mean, I traveled the world. And I was always saying this. I mean, first of all, I mean, many people suffer from this doormat syndrome because we want to please other people. We don't want to hurt other people. We want to make other people happy. Yeah. But first and foremost, the relationship with yourself is the most important thing. Giving that love to yourself, that acceptance, that respect. And I didn't do that. I hated myself. And so I was chasing happiness outside of myself, and it was constantly eluding me. Of course it is, because it was here, it was inside of me. And I needed to figure that out. But I was so broken. I attracted so many broken birds into my life because I wanted to fix them up. It was like a DIY project. And I'm not the only one. Many people do it. They go into a relationship, but it doesn't matter if it's interpersonal relationships or romantic relationships, family, you name it. It's like we listen to the opinions of others, but I wanted to try and mold them to my liking, and that doesn't work that way. We should just accept one another the way that we are, and we don't always do that. And we need to leave one another be, because if we
Hey there, sweet souls. If you're finding value in this episode, I'd be so honored if you could take a moment to share it with that one person you know it would truly serve. And here's some exciting news. My podcast, Omni Mindfulness, was recently ranked in the top 10% globally by Listen Score. It's all thanks to your amazing support and listenership. So let's spread the love and wisdom together. Thank you for being a part of my mindfulness community. Sending you lots of love and light. This is Shilpa.
If we try and stump their growth, as I always say, we also stump our own growth, and we end up hurting ourselves, because that's what we do. But that's the only way that we are going to learn. And so for me in 2009, that was kind of my turning point. When I met, he's now my ex, but he's doing a lot better now. He, this is what I did. I bought him a plane ticket from the US to Holland. And excuse me, but if you want to come and visit me, then maybe you should buy your own plane ticket. But I was very different back then. And so I paid for it, and he came, but I didn't know that he was like a crack addict. I didn't even know that. It was like in phases. So he was all right for a little bit, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I was just like, I'd never seen someone on crack before and having crack hands and haunt my stuff. And oh my goodness. And then he landed in bed with the Crips in Holland, and he pawned from them. And I did try to help him, and he did want to get better, but he wasn't able to get into a clinic because he didn't have a social security for Holland, which is like ridiculous. It's like a catch 22, because here's someone who really wants to get better, but you don't want to help him. And so when he just fell off the rails again, it was he pawned from the Crips. They held him for ransom, and I did help the police. I was I had never experienced this. I was so low. I was in such a fight or flight mode. I couldn't even think properly. And so my mom, she helped me move from Holland to the UK in like the space of 3 days. She'd found me a place to live. And so yeah, and when I got there, and then the police found my ex in Holland, the leader of the Crips, he called me and he said, "If I ever find you, I'm going to kill you." And that really just shook me to my core. And I downed a whole box of ibuprofen, which I know is really lame. And like I say, I always say a lame attempt at my life, but I just I just didn't really know a way out. But all that did for me was like I had a good 12 hours sleep with a headache gone. And then I got up the next day and I was like, you know what? I cannot go on like this anymore. And so my mom said to me, why don't you go and see a counselor? I did. I did. And at the end of that session, the lady said to me, she's like, hearing your story, she's like, I know that you're strong enough and that you will be fine. Okay, great. But that didn't help me. So I had to figure out, rather than sitting down in the dumps, I actually went online and I found a Reiki healer. And that was the start of my holistic path. I mean, even as a kid, I was very susceptible and I saw one of my guides, but you tuck that away. Yeah, you grow up, you get into the earthly realm, into the I always say the earthly living or the social conditioning, and you lose that aspect of yourself. And so I found a Reiki healer and she really, really helped me. I went to her for several sessions and then I studied level 1 and 2 under her in the space of like 1.5 years. And when I moved to St. Petersburg in Florida, I did my master's and then started to teach. But I studied many healing modalities because I just wanted to understand, even the emotional freedom technique, which is such a beautiful technique because you tap out the emotions of the trauma that you carry so that the emotional trigger is gone and you can just talk about it. It's so simple, so profound, and it does wonders. Because I mean, I helped quite a few people in the past with that. Um, yeah, I studied aromatherapy, holistic nutrition, meditation, um, yeah, many other healing modalities. I was like a SpongeBob. I was really wanting to learn so much.
Sounds like your journey really, although it came from pain, you became earnest in seeking a way to heal that was outside of what I feel like often is Western approaches, which is somebody putting judgment on you and having you talk about it, talk therapy, which in and of itself is fine. But when you combine it with some more holistic modality like tapping, I feel it takes it to a more deeper level. And it sounds like through this journey, though, you were also able to find your voice because you talked about being shy. And
Yes,
I'd like to have you share, like, how did you elevate your voice?
took me many, many years. I think also, in the corporate world, I was bullied a lot as well. And that did not sit well with me. And a lot of the times I left. And it was just because of the way that I work. I'm very organized and very meticulous and I'm quick. I just understand it, boom, and it's done. But that's just the way that I am. And I was constantly being kicked into a corner in every aspect of my life, but I allowed it. I allowed it. And the universe, my guides must have been sitting up there. Birgitta, when are you going to change? When are you going to learn from your experiences? Because everyone that we meet is a reflection, is a teacher. And that's how we should see it. I needed to understand it from that perspective. And it's only been several years that I've found my voice. And since my writing, and I can't even remember how it just started several years ago that I was just fed up, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna take back my power. I'm gonna stand in my power and use, just say what I want to say, but not in a horrible way, but in a respectful way. I think people need to give one another space, even though that doesn't really, hold space for one another, even though that doesn't really happen. But I have found that standing in your own authenticity, standing in your own power, and just stating like it is without having these labels of fear, regret, of I call them these red or negative labels that you carry within your mind. Um, no, if you're just genuine, if you're just you and you say it like it is, um, then there is nothing to fear. Absolutely nothing. But yeah, like I said, it's taken me many, many years, and that's why I'm an open book to people. And even at work, I do say it like it is. It's not always, how do I say that? It's frowned upon. But I'm sorry. Why should we pretend to be someone else? Why do we need to keep wearing all these different masks? Yeah, why can we not just drop the masks and show our true selves?
And by virtue of doing so, I believe that you've been able to, without any inhibitions, and I mean this in a good way,
Mhm.
align with what your soul is saying. By virtue of
Yes,
doing, you're speaking your truth, you're elevating your message, which is something that it doesn't matter what one went through. However, the fact that you then take it and just allow people to say, now it's okay to be authentically you, which I love the title of.
yes, absolutely. It's okay to be our authentic selves. It really is. It's just society has deviated us away from our own awareness. It's just we live in this created paradigm. People are so addicted to their electronics. It's like, why don't you just hug a tree, go stand in nature, do something creative, stay away from the electronics? I think people are, oh my goodness, if you were to try to take a phone away, oh, how many people sit in a restaurant with their phone, their buddy, their phone right next to their plates?
Yes, and it probably is a new layer of resistance and avoidance that, because it's hard enough without the pre-electronic days just to get to a place where we sit in stillness and allow ourselves to explore that. And now,
Yes.
yeah, and then how can you hear your own voice or elevate your voice when you can't even hear it, drowning out by distractions?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But you know what? I don't even have a TV. Like I threw that thing out years ago.
Yeah, even television can distort what is true for you. And I sincerely love the fact that you took something that were like, and you described it even in your bio, the twists and turns and challenges. And there was like this inner light inside of you that guided you because it could have
Yes.
gone a very different direction.
Oh, absolutely. I could have destroyed myself, but I came to a place, and I mean, I had more trauma when I was in St. Petersburg. And I look back at it now and I'm so thankful I met this person as well. But um he had lost his mom, he fell into a depression, he had a warrant over his head, he was not wanting to lose me, he was just very controlling. And even though he lived only two doors down from me, because he moved from an hour away, bless his heart, and he just wanted to save the relationship and also work on himself, but that of course didn't work. And so I was screaming at the universe, right? I was on the floor crying and in my house. And I said, why is it always that it rains on my parade. Why can't I be happy? That's what I used to say. Why can't I be happy? I look around me and everyone seems to be doing okay. And what happened then? I mean, yes, I did move out of that house to get away from him. I sold it and moved it to another house, which was insane. That's insane, but that's what I felt like I had to, that's how my brain was wired at the time. And I actually listened. I listened, and it was like a little breadcrumb from the universe. And it came in the form of my sister, and she had done kambo treatment, which is a shamanic mm, medicine treatment using the kambo frog, the poison from the kambo frog. And I mean, that was amazing for me. I mean, I went up into Florida, a couple of hours from where I lived, and I went to see a shaman, and he burnt these 4 points into my leg and then put on the frog poison. And oh my goodness, Shilpa, I was just purging left, right, and center. It came out everywhere because it's such a physical experience. And it took like 4 hours the first time. And he said, "Do you know why it took 4 hours?" I said, "No." He's like, "Because your ego was battling. Your ego was battling to stay in control." And I always say ego means ejecting God out, ejecting our God self out, because that's what we do. And yeah, so 4 hours. And I can tell you this much. When I left, I was so much clearer in my head, and I made a whole bucket list and stuck it on my fridge. And several weeks later, so I went skydiving, for instance, because I have a fear of heights, but I did it anyway. I did it anyway. I went running for charity because I promised my stepdad in 2000 that I would after he'd crossed over. And I didn't do that for 16 years. And then I started running. I finally did it, and I crossed these things off. And then I met my former mentor, Alania Starhawk. But it was almost like the universe kicked me out the door and said, "You need to go to that fair." And I did. And so I met my former mentor there, and she's what you call an Akashic record healer. So she walks you through your past lives. And in one of these past lives, my ex he had leached off me sometime in the Middle Ages because I was very well off, and he wanted to climb the social status ladder. And he poisoned me with a kind of arsenic, and it took several months for me to cross over. And he did it under the guise of, he was trying to help heal me and give me medicine, which wasn't the case. But it was really funny because in this lifetime, when I met him, I lost so much weight. I was so ill. I couldn't hold any food in for months. I was skin over bones. I couldn't even hold a cup of tea in. That's how bad it was. And so she she didn't know this when I went to see her, Alania Starhawk, and she explained that to me, and I said, "You know what, that actually resonates with me." And then I explained it to her. And she goes, "That's just, a karmic tie." Once that was removed and that was healed, that aspect, I was left in peace. That's how it works. It's like the energy just changed, and my ex just worked on himself, and he got himself out the gutter, and he's doing very well for himself now. But it 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 took me a long time to understand this. And so from there on, I took a workshop and I learned to channel. And that's was very in the beginning, it was very healing for me as well, because I just asked questions. And it was really an exercise that she gave us, where she said, just take a pad and a pen and just say to the universe, "I'm ready and open to receive." One thing, my mind was so far gone as it was shot. And when I went home, I did that exercise and it just started flowing in Old English prose. And I just started to ask questions. And it was a very, very healing journey for me. And it's like riding a bike, right? You've got to keep practicing. And I practiced with my cards, and whatever send master angel I picked, I would ask them for a message, ask them something about them, and they would just convey it to me.
And I feel like based on what you've described, now that you're the founder of, I am reading it off, Power, Soul, Healing, and
Yes.
Empowerment, this all came together. I feel like it was almost a divine, a divine design, so to speak,
Yes.
because it you, if you look at something looking forward, it's hard to tell what's going on. But when you look backwards, you realize the dots connect. And in your,
Yes.
those dots allow you to now, what I love the way you articulate is becoming, and becoming who you are. Because a lot of us are, and I can say I'm one of those people, often feel like, well, I want to just become that, whatever that is. But it's a journey. And your
It is a
journey
journey.
still evolving, because I'm still becoming the version of me that I want to be.
Me
But
too.
and authentically, what we really are is already there. Like, we are a soul, we are light. So it's
Yes,
like
we
the
are.
duality is the hard part.
Yes, and that's the beauty. That's why we came, or we cannot learn. If there was no duality, we wouldn't be able to learn. Um, so yeah, yeah, for me, I've forgiven everyone in my life. I've got no bitterness, nothing, no judgment, nothing. I let everything just roll off my back like water. And that's the best way to be. And the same with work now. It doesn't mean I'm still learning, that I'm finished learning. Oh, heck no, I'm still a work in progress. I always say that to people. And we're just here to inspire one another, to empower one another, and to help one another. As my Archangel Michael always says, we're here to walk one another back home to the light of ourselves. And as Saint Germain always says, well, why are you here? People always ask me this. And he always, the first thing he said to me years ago is like, you're here to return to that love for yourself and each other, nothing more, nothing less. And he always talks about the violet flame of transmutation, or transformation, and that's healing our pain, healing as alchemists. It's turning the lead into gold, but it's turning the heaviness, that lead, into gold, and that means the wisdom of understanding through healing ourselves. And it's so important to heal ourselves. It doesn't matter how you decide to heal. People don't agree with what I do, because now I do light language healing, which is an ancient form of healing. It's been around since the beginning of time, but just like Reiki, it's been around since the Atlantean times. And I say to people, if it doesn't agree with you, and that's okay. You have to do whatever agrees with your spirit. Yeah, because I'm not a Yosemite Sam saying, you know what, you have to do light language. No, and it's the same with my book. It's like, if it resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too.
And how is it in that, in your book, you were inspired to, I keep using the word voice, but using your light, using your voice, what inspired you um, to go there? Because there was
Yeah.
it sounds like we're of even articulating your concerns or fears wasn't something that came easy.
No, so when we were shut in because of this COVID experiment, as I call it, um, I had already started writing a book in 2000, in the year 2000. And I put it away because, I had to go through so many more experiences. And then when it hit, it was like my guides, the universe was saying, excuse me, you need to sit down and you need to finish writing this book. I'm always like, excuse me? I had a full-time job. And but I did. I wrote it in the evenings and I listened to their guidance, because there are many channeled messages in there. And I tell you what, Shilpa, it helped me so much. So many life lessons in there, which helped me heal a lot more, because I still needed to do the shadow work, of course. It was just very empowering for me. And I think through writing that, I really found my voice. And it's been an amazing healing journey. And that's why I say to people often, journaling is very powerful because you write your thoughts away onto paper. And I didn't write the book for me. It was just a mess. I was told to write it, and I was just there, the scribe, as I always say. I was the scribe. So yeah, and my experiences, I hope my experiences help other people. But what they made really clear about experiences is that, do not remain by the side of the road. Do not remain in that victimhood, regardless of what happens to you. Yes, life can be tough, and we go through a lot of pain. We go through a lot of struggles in life, but they say, look at it from a point of your experiences are opportunities to help elevate your awareness and understanding what life is all about. Um, And yes, I mean, I've overcome a lot. Many other people have overcome a lot. But yeah, I am nothing but grateful for everything that I've been through. Would I do it any different? No, not at all. Because how could I? I wouldn't be who I am today.
And sorry, I almost lost my voice. What I was going to say is that in the process of becoming, it sounds
Yeah.
like darkness became the way to see the light. And it's no
Yes.
means that you are a light worker, a light empowerment coach. Now, for those who are not aware of this modality, maybe enlighten us what light language healers do.
So, yeah. Like I said, it's been around for eons. Many people are starting to use that now. Um, and it's what we call, my teacher calls it the cosmic language of love. Um, and on a conscious level, you're not going to understand it. It's like gerbil language. It's like, what are you saying? But on a soul level, oh my goodness, your soul understands these codes just beautifully, and the healing will go exactly where it needs to go. That's how powerful it is. Um, so yeah, happy to give a demo if you want it.
Yeah, if you want to give a quick demo.
Yes. I mean, is there any intent that you want to focus on, Shilpa?
Um, I don't know. I mean I've spoken to a light healer on my show before, but
Oh,
so I suppose I can just keep it general because I don't have something
yeah.
said yet.
Do you want peace of mind? Everybody?
Or yeah, or one of my struggles often is, and I share this with others, is that I
Yeah.
personally struggle with anxiety.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. We can focus on that and give you a little bit more of inner calm. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. And just take a very deep breath in and gently let that go. And take another deep breath in, full of positivity and light. And gently release all the heaviness and the negativity. And just think of your intent. Just envision that, visualize that, and then put it in the fertile soil of your heart and nurture that. Okay, so when I'm going to bring through the light codes, I always say to people, just allow it to flow through your whole being. So, okay. Ta silililia malakui niki alue he mayukisi a mukoi ni la Tisiano iliki iya maluya ha. Tisi mue muea. Tuya la kushi wa miki amahu. Pale kike anuia. Sikayo muini walaha. Kisi i malahe wa tututu. Siki ini waha. Kuriniki ama weheleki kukiki amalu e. Ho shishimi alwe ki ama ini ki ama kukuku ini asikue e. Tokiti amoi ni waha. Tasiki ama u. Tasimiki ya wehe wa u. And just gently, gently let it flow through you. Kiki ikima kuki ka nukisiki tukato kasi yamaku inniki yamaku koko. Tiki. Thank you.
This just flows to you, right?
Yeah.
So it's so appropriate that you are speaking on the topic of elevating your soulful message, given the light healing. And do the words, as they come to you, map to a language that you understand, or is it more intuitive?
It's intuitive. So this for me was very light. It was very, I just saw the colors pink, just pink floating through you. Uh, yeah, that's what I saw. They're very, very light. I compare them to, this is more like ethereal Lemurian energy.
That's beautiful. And I just find your voice so soothing.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm just I'm just a toolbox. They use my voice. I'm very humbled to be able to do this. So yeah.
Thank you for the demo, and thank you for walking me through the journey of the challenges as well as where you've arrived, and
Yeah.
openness and humility that you show of knowing that becoming is a journey.
Yes, absolutely. And for those people, I just want to say for those people listening out there, yeah, it's so important to just be you. Doesn't matter what people think of you. It matters what you think of you. Doesn't matter what the world thinks of you, as long as you think the world of yourself. Yeah. So always take back your power and stand in your power and live the life according to the voice of your own heart, the voice of your own soul, rather than being swayed by the opinions and judgments of others. Because when people have opinions about you and they judge you, it says more about how they feel about themselves than it actually says about you. So always remember that. And just be open, just be kind, just be forgiving, and just walk your path. Walk your path and talk your talk. And be humble, be kind, be compassionate. And most of all, do not put yourself in the boxing ring because oh my gosh, I've done that more times than I care to remember. But the mistakes, I don't call them mistakes, they're experiences. That's all it is. You're here to experience the experiment of life.
And early in the podcast, you had used an expression that I often use, that we are having a human experience, but what we really are,
Yes.
authentic light.
Yes. And you know what human means, right? When you split the word up, you've got you, HUE, and I always say that's light, and then men. We're light men wandering the earth, recovering the light that we have. I mean, what we've done is we've dimmed our light so much because of the layers of conditioning. And it's all about recovering that inner light of ourselves and shining that forth so that we can inspire others to do the same.
Wonderful. I am so honored that you took your time to share. And for those who are listening, they can learn more in the show notes, obviously, but is there the can you share a little bit about the book so that
Yeah.
people can tune into that as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I've got my collaboration books coming out in the middle of April now, actually. Um, so that's my chapter is called Journey to the Light Within. It's just about 2,600 words, but it's co-authored with 13 other authors, and that one's called Become Empowered, funnily enough. Yes, and so my book, the first one, the first part is about the shifting consciousness and why everything's happened in the last couple of years, and it's a whole Q&A section with the Ascended Masters. And I talk about the Atlantean times, the Lemurian times. I talk about the Anunnaki. And then the second part is all about my life and how I've overcome trauma, infused with, again, the many channeled messages, the humorous messages from many master teachers. But I also talk about depression, drug abuse, mental health. So I touch upon all these topics, but with the channeled messages, coming from above and their view, and how you can heal yourself. And many people have come back to me and said, this has been such a healing book. It's like it's just encoded with healing. And I said, well, I had to write it, and I'm just here to put that food for thought seed into people's minds. And whether that little seedling decides to sprout, that's entirely up to them.
Well, your message is so profound and so timely, especially with a lot of people, I think, becoming a little more receptive to the notion that the spiritual realm holds so many modalities that allow you to expand.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm so glad that more people are awakening now. It's just beautiful to see. And that's why it's something, Shilpa, that's why there is so much darkness in the world that is surfacing, because, and it really has to. So people are starting to open their eyes, and everything starts with you. If you want to make the world a better place, then it starts with you.
Yes, yes. That is absolutely correct. And I couldn't agree more. Well, Gita, I am so happy that you took time today with me, and I will definitely keep in touch and hopefully have you
Yes.
back and even maybe read your books sometime soon so that I can continue sharing your wisdom with others.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I'd love to
I
be back on your show sometime. Yes.
love that. So yeah, and I've mentioned to you that I've had had one guest talk about light work. So that's
Yes.
something that wasn't new to me.
It's like I said, it's up and coming. So many healing modalities are now popping up, ancient healing modalities, and I think it's amazing. There's so much out there. So much out there.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for elevating your voice and sharing your message with your voice. And it is definitely a gift. And I hope you have a lovely day.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Shilpa. And I just want to say one more thing. Look, for any of your listeners that are suffering, just please do reach out to someone rather than sitting there. Just reach out to a friend or reach out to anybody and talk to someone.
I totally agree. I know for myself and others, um, sometimes the isolation that we think we need,
Yeah.
self judgment, and others are not judging you. It's better to kind of expand to those who could potentially guide you and put light on your path.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, and I'm going to encourage people to look at the show notes and look at your book and follow you so that you can also be instrumental in helping them.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thanks for tuning in, sweet soul. If you've enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful for your kind review on Apple Podcast. Simply click on the link in the show notes to leave your lovely feedback and uplift our spirits. Your support means the world to me and helps our show thrive. So please show me your love and continue to practice Omni Mindfulness.